Welcome back to The Line. We often talk on the show about the various economic issues facing our state. A big one is the loss of jobs. Local media reporting that Intel is cutting jobs across the company, 12,000 worth actually. It will consolidate some facilities, and we don't know yet what will happen to Intel employees here in Rio Rancho. But Intel is a big employer here, and our state doesn't have a lot of big private employers. Daniel, you live in Rio Rancho, as does Harry, and I'm interested in both of you, the chatter. More than the details right now, what's going on in the streets of Rio Rancho right now? People worried about this?
What's the talk? I think they are,
okay,
to some extent. I think it's almost like, the sky is falling. I mean, I think people are so conditioned that it's going to happen that people are finally like, if this is the time, get it over with. Please, is there somebody that's going to take over that business? I think there's a lot of talk. I was just talking last night with some friends. There's a move in Rio Rancho that believes that the best thing that could happen is for Intel to leave and for the next people to come in that will vamp it and run it. And because apparently from all reports, and I'll defer to Harry, he's far more educated on this stuff than I am, it's not a bad plant. I mean, if you're looking nationally, it's a pretty good place to come kind of do that that you don't have to drop, $1 billion to go build a new facility. So I think a lot of people in Rio Rancho are finally saying, okay, we're tired of hearing this.
Right.
Maybe if Intel will work with us to find the next person, it's time to move on.
Interesting. Harry, your thoughts? I'm curious.
Yeah, it's not really all that much of a surprise because the Rio Rancho plant has been at 32 nanometers for chips. Now we're going down to 22 and 14. Right. And the big concern has been that Intel has not been investing in the plant. So really and truly, it just seems that this plant doesn't have all that much of a long-term future. And now the question for the folks in Rio Rancho and Sandoval County is what comes next? What's the adjustment for that? Particularly because it's a very specialized sort of plant with sort of older technology. So who's going to come in to make a multi-billion-dollar investment to bring things up to snuff?
And compete with Intel.
Exactly.
After they do it. We've gone down to 1,900 employees there through attrition and natural things. We were at 3,500 at one point in our headcount here for Intel. I have to think, however, the nameplate is so big. It's a global entity. If you lose this in a community, it's a big deal. It's not just any other company. It's not like a Home Depot closing back when. It's Intel. It's huge.
It is huge. And, and I hear rumblings that, we gave them too many IRBs and they really got a great deal. But you know what? They really supported the state of New Mexico and they supported the economy. They built high school. And it was, I think over time they didn't just cut and run. They have been here a long time.
That's right.
And there are some real issues, not the least of which is the water issues. And it always amazes me that it was more productive for them to be in Chandler, Arizona, that has as many or more water issues than we have. But I agree with you that this could be an opportunity, and I can't help but look at the technology that they have at Foxconn at Santa Teresa, which is the same overhead type of distribution system that maybe we shouldn't look for the next Intel because there isn't going to be the same type of technology. It's going to be different. So what might we do? Might assembly be a better option? Might that be where we look?
That's an interesting point. I have to noodle on that for a little bit. It's very interesting. We all have friends that work there, maybe acquaintances, family members, whatever the case may be. And I have to say again, the hiccup, how do we move forward from this if in fact the worst happens? And the reason I say this is they keep talking about facilities closing. And when I see on one hand they're moving into things like the cloud, mobile stuff, none of that is doable at our plant as it stands. And they haven't invested in the plant since 2009. I mean, is the handwriting just on the wall here? Should we be prepared for the worst here?
Well, I think everyone already knows what's potentially going to happen. I mean, just reading through, you have Rio Rancho Mayor Greg Hull saying the city's waiting for an official announcement.
Right.
Which means there have already been unofficial conversations probably taking place.
Sure.
But,
as should be.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Winthrop Quigley with the Albuquerque Journal brought up a great point, and that is, how are we going to keep the 1,900 employees from the Intel site if for some reason they do end up mothballing it or having a significant staff reduction? I mean, because that's not done.
Sure.
How are we going to keep them here? Because when you look at the assets that New Mexico has when it comes to attracting businesses like Intel, high-tech companies, the workforce is probably our weakest piece of that equation. And the 1,900 remaining employees are going to be huge to determine how successful New Mexico and specifically Rio Rancho is in determining next steps. Having had the opportunity to work with Rio Rancho Economic Development back in, this is a decade ago with Fulcrum Direct when they closed down. They saw this as a great opportunity. Noreen Scott at the time, she was the head of economic development. She says, how are we going to go out and get proactive? Well, everybody's been kind of talking about this since 2004, 2009, now here we are, 2016. If we don't have a game plan by now, then we have some
I think there's a little bit of a game plan from what I'm hearing. What I'm hearing is there's a real push right now for Sandia Labs to step in, take the facility, collaborate with all the universities in New Mexico, New Mexico State, Tech, Eastern, Western Highlands, and Sandia, and Los Alamos, and bring that facility to a place where we can do something we've talked about a lot here, which is that tech transfer. How many times do we sit around this table talking about something that was invented here, but is now perfected in Boulder, perfected out in California, that this could become an opportunity to collaborate with all of them and make it a successful move.
Dan, I think that's such a great point, but I'm looking at the federal budgets, and I don't see anything that supports that for Sandia to do it.
Let me bring up another base. We've had some news here, of course, out of Holloman, that the Germans are pulling out and with their families, and they're no longer going to be doing training in Alamogordo. And Harry, again, for a smaller community, these kind of hiccups are no small thing. That was a lot of income for that community. So again, the same question we're asking about Rio Rancho, what comes next?
And here we really have to talk about the fact that we have two states in New Mexico. We essentially have the Belen to Santa Fe or Los Alamos corridor, which is very, very different than, say, Alamogordo. Where the loss of that base is going to make an enormous difference. Now there is some discussion of perhaps attracting other sorts of missions, but I really do worry that the state doesn't have an economic game plan for both of those communities. Or both of those sorts of states. So you've got Rio Rancho, for example, and a lot of the things that we've been talking about around the table would be good substitutes to keep those high-skilled employees here. But then we've got the other half of the state, which is incredibly rural, and where's the economic development going to come for those folks?
That's right. Very good point. I know, right? It's a tough one. Those are two. But on Harry's point about an overall plan,
well, I mean,
that's a great idea.
Where is the plan? And I've talked with you about this earlier, but I am watching the military budgets simply evaporate. And whether you like it or not, there is no other mission at this moment, and it is certainly not funded. And where is our congressional delegation out there saying, we have a game plan. We are better than testing than anybody else in the country. We have more access to facilities so you can test, so you can actually do what you need to do by coming here. And I don't see us fighting for it. And at the same time, where is the voice that says, in our military and defending our country, we are changing to a technological base. No one better than New Mexico is prepared to actually engage in that discussion. But where are our leaders?
I appreciate that a lot. Absolutely.
Well, so, you can only lead to a point. Okay,
well, that's
and workforce is, as we have been talking about, is New Mexico's weakest link. Okay, there are already a lot of tax incentives in place, but it's the workforce. And there was a projection about Medicaid, about the number of residents on Medicaid skyrocketing to 925,000 in the state by 2017.
What's that as a percentage of?
It was just about
45%. That's tremendous.
And if you, when you look at 45% potentially being on welfare or some type of assistance, that does not send a message to the to the world saying we have a trained and ready, capable, available workforce.
And I love my good friend Tom. I don't think you can lead to a point. I think you lead. Period. And I think when you have these failures, I think we've done a very bad job as a state, both Republican and Democrat, of doing things more than just getting reelected. It's time to address these problems. It's time to address why our public school system is failing, why economic development isn't working, why students are leaving this state, in busloads. And at some point, everybody's going to have to sit down and say the answer isn't going to Washington and begging for more federal dollars. We talked for years, Gene, back when I was in the legislature, about it someday this was going to be painful. When we lost the Dominicis and the Bigamins that had the Joe Speeds.
And they both talked about it too.
That's right. And we just sat around like pigs getting led to the slaughter. We were just happy to get more, happy to get more.
Let me throw another thing on the table we found out this week from the Santa Fe Reporter this time. $50 million in lost royalties from the state since 2010 on gas flaring in the northern part of our state. $50 million. That's incredible.
It's a red herring. I mean, you know, I don't, you know, it's not.
You don't buy that number?
No, well, the number might be accurate,
Okay.
but it's a politically motivated number. And I think what it does is it diverts the conversation away from where we should be. Instead of, you know, that reinforces saying we need oil and gas. We need oil and gas to step up. Well, oil and gas has been stepping up for a long time. Federal government has been stepping up for a long time. Back to the point that, you know, that Senator Domenici and Bingaman have been made, you know, had made back in their day, is that, you know, we need to diversify the economy, and relying and trying to get, you know, a blood out of the stone of the oil and gas industry or the federal government. That's the wrong approach.
What can the delegation do, though, honestly, Janice? I mean, at this point, do you think is there something they could say in tandem with state government, what I'm leading up to, a team effort here to say we need to get after this,
well,
folks?
I think there is, and I'm with Dan. I don't want to be dependent upon the federal government, the military, or any sector, but there are natural gifts that this state has that can inure to our country. And one of them, we have airspace. We have a lot of land. We also have, oh, by the way, rare earth elements. And do we have a mining contract any place? No. And yet, is it an essential ingredient for any of the technology moving forward? It absolutely is. But we're not talking about it, but neither are we talking about the big things that could actually do something today, and it's painful, and that is dealing with our gross receipts tax. It is time.
That's right.
It is time to simplify, make this 3% across the board, cut this other stuff out, and make it easy to do business, because when the cost of compliance is 20% of revenue, why would you want to come here?
That's right. That's a big bite. I had another question for you, but you
I'm
took me on a whole other trail there. That's so awesome, though. I guess what's the chicken and what's the egg? You mentioned education.
Right.
You know what I mean? So if we're not going to throw our resources fully at one thing, can we expect the success on the other thing? Do you know what I'm saying?
I think
we've had that discussion here a lot of
really
times.
Tough one because we don't have a single Fortune 500 corporation headquartered in the States. So
That's right.
what have we been talking about? We've been talking about either back office sorts of things. We haven't talked about HFP, or we've been talking about behind the times plants like at Intel, or we've been talking about defense. What aren't we talking about? We aren't talking about things like entrepreneurship. We aren't talking about things like technology transfer, which Dan brought up. I think a lot of times in the state we focus on these moonshot sorts of things, like the spaceport, which really doesn't feel like that was a terribly good use of resources. A big part of economic development, in my judgment, is coming up with a systemic strategy that has to include things like education, has to include things like infrastructure, and I have not really seen the vision for that anywhere, either at the state level or indeed at the federal
And
level.
when you see the stuff that's going on, we've talked about this ad nauseum, traveling for work, the stuff that's going on in Boulder with the tech stuff that's off the charts,
Absolutely.
with them pushing people out of Boulder when they reach a certain size, and we're doing nothing as an entity to go to those guys and say, come on, come on down, because even if you've got a little bit of technology, we got unbelievable resources with labs, with military, with colleges. We'll help bring that stuff to market. Somebody has got to grab this, and the answer isn't building another organization that's going to get a $20 million budget to travel around and talk to people. It's putting a real plan together that says we're going after this. And I've jokingly said, and Gene, I'll end by telling you this. Please. I jokingly told Governor Richardson one year, I said, you want to bring a Fortune 500 company? We have one of the largest permanent funds in the country. Take a chunk of that, go to RJR and Nabisco, become a 51% stakeholder in RJR and say, we're moving the facilities to New Mexico. Sometimes it takes bold thinking like that to say we're going to make a difference.
Hey, I'm with you on that. Please.
And there's one more point. Don't overlook tourism. You know, what's really sad is I go to Chicago or some of the other towns, and I will tell you what, there is customer service. And it makes me want to go and spend money and go look around. We're much prettier, but our customer service is awful.
Well, and all these people we're trying to attract business-wise, they want to come here to vacation anyway. Most of these guys on these Fortune 500 companies own homes in Abiquiu. They own homes in Santa Fe.
They know
what
us.
we want is we want them to come here so they send their kids here to school here. That's what we're missing.
That's
or
right.
one of many things.
Interesting. When we come back to the line, our panel gives an update on the controversy surrounding the changes in governing the UNM Health Sciences Center.